Hey guys, today I've asked Al Toops to come on here and talk to us about one of his products that's extremely beneficial. It's a bio-fungicide on the crops that we're going to talk about. But I want you to take a look at this. This could be a game changer, especially during this crazy season that we're going through, which is promoting probably a lot of diseases that could happen. So Al, go ahead and share with us.
Okay. Well, thank you, Joe. Thanks for inviting me to get on. Uh, I told you earlier I wanted to share a little story, and the FinPro product that we developed, it's been in development for a number of years, half a dozen years. We launched it a couple of years ago, and when we're looking at the soil microbiome and the what I would call the immune system of a plant, uh, we we know that there are certain beneficial qualities the soil offers. We call these biocontrol agents in the soil. These are agents that are in the form of fungi and bacteria that help the plant's defenses against pathogens. And I wanted to tell you the story about something that happened, and I can share my screen here, and I'll show you some stuff.
Okay.
My let me see here, get this minimized. My daughter and my wife, we raise registered quarter horses for. We train them. They train them for barrel racers.
Mhm.
And so for years we've been buying hay from one of our friends and local neighbors here that always run on the border of Arkansas, Oklahoma. And the reason I wanted to share this particular story was to kind of lead into why I'm looking at this the way I am. So for years and years, they've been growing Bermuda grass hay. They grow Bermuda grass for mostly for horses. A lot of the horse people don't like to use fescue hay. Aflatoxin and other diseases get in it. And so the common practices, and you'll see these guys advertise this way. They'll say, "Hey, this is weed free, 100% Bermuda grass." And what they've done to get that is, really taken its toll on the soil profile. And I did
Mhm.
some genomics testing, and that's what I'm going to show you here.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago in his pastures, because I began to start having questions about why are you using so much glyphosate in the winter to kill his annual weeds? Why are you using these heavy rates of synthetic fertilizers? And he just got to telling me that, he's trying to he used to get, when he first started farming this ground or cutting hay off this ground, he's getting 5 cuttings a year and he's using all this 3200 fertilizer and heavy potash applications. And he said he just couldn't afford to use as much fertilizer as it's taken to get his crop off. He was going backwards. So I said, let's take some
Mhm.
soil samples. I wanted to show him my reports, the ones I do. So
Right.
this is a bee crop report I'm going to run through here. And what I was able to show him was that your practices are causing you some really serious problems, specifically with Pythium.
Mhm.
And so, you can see here in the first page of this report, we're looking at what diseases are prominent. And then when we look down and we see the fungi to bacteria ratio and a lot of the things I talk about,
Yeah.
what I really wanted to focus on with this little video we're doing here was the amount of Pythium and the amount of Fusarium and the amount of Rhizoctonium, but mostly in this case, Pythium. And so I think I did 6 or 7 samples, uh, showing him that we need to really think about controlling this Pythium. And there's a reason why, and I'll show you in a minute. So he decided that that was the first one. Here was the second soil sample. Uh, Same thing, Pythium,
Mhm.
very high risk. Third one, the strip, very high risk. Again, Pythium.
Mhm.
I mean, it was just
Yeah.
common in one of these. And so we had this mama horse that was pregnant, was in her 8th month, about a month away, or 9 months, about a month away from having birthing this colt. And I went to the barn one day, and she was very lethargic, and I could tell that she wasn't feeling very well. And so I talked to Trace, and I said, there's something going on with that horse. Let's go out and check it out. So we did, and lo and behold, get to this other page. I want to show you something.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, I didn't have this, and I'm going to show you why I think why this caused this. Um, I just got it in my email here. I'll show it this way. We got an autopsy. This horse passed away and died on us.
Oh man.
And we got the autopsy back. I wanted to run an autopsy because I've been really concerned about this.
Mm-hmm.
This is my daughter here, and we got the autopsy back from Oklahoma State University. And look what they found as the infection in that horse that killed it, Pythium.
Wow. My goodness.
So I began to really kind of think about this, and I've started looking at some of these related issues in soils when we're looking at the effects of certain kinds of diseases and how they are affecting our, what's happening with the applications of all this glyphosate we're putting out. And we're finding out that man, I can't ever get this thing out of the way. I want to show you this. The study that I got back from oh, there it is right here. This is a report that was done, a white paper that was done, impacts of glyphosate-based herbicides on disease resistance and health of crops. 2018 report that came out showing that what happens with Roundup Ready plants is the plant becomes more susceptible to specific infection.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a highlight that I showed here is that it's noteworthy that in contrast, some potentially phytopathogenic species express relatively glyphosate tolerant forms of specific pathogens. So we see that Fusarium, Pythium, and Rhizoctonia is prolific and grows beyond unbelievable rates with Roundup Ready crops. Now, I'm not just trying to make this all up and tell us a funny story here. When I look at these reports that I run, and I've done, since I've been doing this testing, I'll just show you the number here. Just last year alone, we did 1,426 samples. And Joe, I could cook any one of these samples out. Anybody I know that's been growing soybeans or corn, but specifically, you just name them. Here's one of Eric's fields.
Yeah.
And I can look at the disease pressure, and it's the same 3 diseases every time.
Wow.
I'm not making a claim. I'm just saying that we have an issue here with Pythium and Rhizoctonia and Fusarium.
Yeah.
And these specific organisms are invading our soils because there's no natural pathogen for them, and they built a resistance to a lot of our fungicides. So when I look at a soil report now, I want to see what our biocontrol agents are. This is where the FinPro comes in.
Mm-hmm.
What we've done is we've killed the fungal colonies in the soil with our practices. And what we've ended up having the problem with is infection. I don't like to call it disease. It's almost chronic infection with Pythium and Rhizoctonia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fusarium. And so we can't just fight them now with just fungicides, because the more we fight them with fungicides, the more we build up, the inability for the plant to naturally fight these off.
Yeah.
So the development of a product like the FinPro is the whole idea behind the FinPro is to add these biocontrol agents back. And let me see if I can show the benefits of that. Our DefendPro product is really developed for specifically fighting off these pathogens that are so you know, detrimental in cropping systems now,
Hmm.
specifically Rhizoctonia, Pythium, and Phytophthora and Fusarium, because there's natural agents in the soil that would naturally fight against this. So if my whole idea behind why I'm telling this story is, if you're going to use glyphosate, and it's common out there because we have and glyphosate,
Hmm.
then you need to come back in with the organisms that actually will help fight the pathogen that's going to end up being dominant. Because the way this works is it's like AIDS. It's an autoimmune disease that we give these plants whenever we spray them with glyphosate. And what kills the plant is usually the secondary pathogen.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, people that had that horrible disease would die from pneumonia or some
Yeah.
secondary problem.
Hmm.
So Defend Pro is designed to help fight these pathogens. And so these are natural agents. There's well over 150 agents in the Defend Pro product that actually, the best way to apply it is, and you were asking about timing,
Yeah.
would be in the corn crop. With the way that I suggest doing it is with the planter early, is to get those organisms in there when are. uh, I've got a beam in here. Let me get that out of the way. Uh, I'll just show them both here together. Sure.
Okay.
Is with the planter, so we can get it in at an 8 to 12 ounce rate with the seed as a seed treatment, with a primer, with your inoculant, whatever you're using. And
Yeah.
then around V7 or BT, whenever you do your fungicide application, is to also do another application in the foliar. So these are what
Hmm.
we call endophytic bacteria and fungi. They actually live in the plant. I like to get it in early as possible, though. The majority
Yeah.
of the times we see better response to disease pressure whenever we inoculate early with these organisms that are in Defend Pro. Same with beans. It's probably one of the best white mold control products I've seen in the market is Defend Pro. So
Hmm.
use it early as a seed treatment, and then around whenever you do your normal foliar fungicide V3 or R3, whenever that is, whenever the idea is to get it in before the plant goes to maturity, so you can get it in while the plant's actively growing.
Right.
And
So what if the farmer misses that planting window? Can he apply it like early, like V1 or 2 or something? And
come in with a 32 ounce rate around V2.
yeah.
Yeah. But remember, what we're doing is we're inoculating that plant with these organisms that actually help defend against those pathogens.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to tell you this: Defend Pro in itself, we had wonderful results against tar spot with Defend Pro. University of Wisconsin did a study. We have to get in because that's an airborne disease, and we need to know that that plant needs to build an immunity against these kind of infections. So we're doing a really heavy study this year on rates. I want to make sure that we know what the rates are per acre.
Hmm.
The rates we did at the University of Wisconsin were too high to afford for the farmer. We didn't do
Yeah.
any lower rates. We just did high rates.
Yeah.
So I want to know what the opposite is, what the lower rates are, but it is very effective against tar spot.
Hmm.
Uh, the whole idea behind it, though, is to not think about this as a substitute for a synthetic. If you haven't been kind of doing what I've been talking about the last couple of years, getting our soil health back, then a product like Defend Pro is not going to be, the best solution for fighting pathogens. Pathogens are a secondary. I call it, their infections are a secondary byproduct of poor soil health. Usually, what we'll see is infection coming into a crop that has a low immune system. So if you're using the BTI products and other good carbon sources and carbohydrates and building your soil health back, you'll have a better response with a product like Defend Pro than one that's not. So I wouldn't just use Defend Pro alone as a fungicide.
So are you saying too that Defend Pro is a much wider spectrum than the synthetics fungicides, because you might still need to use both, and if especially during a wet season, like we're encountering right now, right?
Right. I mean, those synthetics do a lot of damage to the beneficial biology.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you're targeting the pathogen, but remember what I've always said is that when we have an imbalance between fungi and bacteria, the
Hmm.
nature's going to always try to balance it, and they bring in the heavy guns when it's really out of balance, and that's why these fungal pathogens like the ones we're showing here become such a problem.
Hmm.
So, uh, the whole idea behind the FinPro is get these colonies back. These are a little bit, FinPro is a little different than the other products we have because majority of those are soil-borne
Hmm.
organisms that actually live in the rhizosphere. The FinPro lives in the rhizosphere, but also live in the plant's xylem and phloem, the
Hmm.
vascular system of the plant as well. So this is a unique product for us, and that for when we're looking at controlling pathogens, uh, very, 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 very effective at this with this product.
I know some of the guys that's been using your products over the last couple of years have found that Defend Pro has showed a positive effect on them using it and applying it, and I think several of them are still learning what's the best timing and when should I do it and all that kind of thing. So
Yeah. So I like to here we're going to actually improve our seed treatments.
hmm.
Uh, just because we've now seen the benefits of what not only the mycorrhiza fungi do with our Prime Pro products, but we're going to include with the Fin Pro in the 26 season with all of our Prime products.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that it's going to replace the Fin Pro application. So we still got guys that would probably still want to use that, but we just know that the more that we get out with these organisms that actually are beneficial to the plant's immune system, the better.
Hmm.
So the FinPro is going to be just a part of our seed treatment from in the future.
Yeah. Well, you're telling me that's about the only way they're going to combat this buildup of glyphosate in their soil.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't, I don't remember if you know the statistics or not, but I've heard that glyphosate alone can take, I mean, like 100 years or something. It stays in the soil, so this could be a long-term problem that guys don't
Well,
really know how to
what's
deal
so
with.
sad about the study that I was showing you there a while ago
Yeah.
is that this particular study shows that there is no difference. I mean, there's no. It's almost like it's a the impact of Pythium and Fusarium in Rhizoctonia is higher in fields that have been applied with Roundup that are applied with Roundup.
Yeah.
So it's attractive to these. When a plant gets sprayed with glyphosate, it's almost like these
Hmm.
organisms are triggered to come and destroy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been and I'm not just making this up. I since I've been looking at soil samples. Now I just showed you what I had there.
Hmm.
Show you that in my lab reports that I see.
Hmm.
This was just in these samples at the bottom here. It's 1426 was just in since I would say July of last year. So that's
Yeah.
1,400 samples, and there they all are.
Yeah.
And I could pick up any of these, just any one of these genomics tests, and I would bet you just pull one up and go down somebody I don't know. Um, and we're going to see Pythium or Rhizoctonia.
Wow.
Joe, it's just everywhere.
Golly.
So
Kind of a it's kind of a hidden thing. It's snuck up on these
it has.
farmers.
It
And
snuck us. It snuck up on the American farmer, and it's the same. So see, we have a high level of Pythium here, and we still have Fusarium showing up, and that's
wow.
ridiculous. So it's just common, and it's funny that I can show samples that I've taken year after year after they put a program in place, and we'll wipe it out. It no longer
Yeah.
comes up on the report. So
Wow. That's great.
yeah, but that's the story of Defend Pro, and we're always trying to figure out ways to improve, uh, you know, our product.
So while you're talking about even the glyphosate issue, um, could you say then that Defend Pro is beneficial on, let's say, all crops?
Yes. You were asking about wheat. Yes, the same thing. A lot of our
Yeah.
guys are doing, because most of the guys that plant wheat aren't, they're drilling it, and so it's a broadcast. We do it with the herbicide, so
Yeah.
they'll actually use the FinPro with their glyphosate
Yeah.
early when it burn down,
Yeah.
uh, and then come in and use it as a foliar.
Well, that glyphosate's kind of like, or the Defend Pro to counteract, it's kind of like all the guys have to add manganese
Yep, same kind of thing. Yep,
because it chelates it in the plant, and then they're, you're deficient. Well, now you've got Defend Pro being added with glyphosate to offset that negativity.
that's right.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So I tell guys all the time, if you're going to use glyphosate, make sure you inoculate,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
we're killing that particular active ingredient in that particular herbicide and glyphosate is killing our beneficials
Yeah.
in the process of killing the plant. So it kills the plant, and that's where they live, is on the root, on the beneficials
Yeah.
live on the
Yeah.
rhizosphere. So
And with all this new technology and stuff that keeps coming out, of course, but it really comes back down to, and we've been kind of looking into this over the last years or so, but um, we're doing everything, whether it's dry fertilizer or glyphosate or something like that, and we're going backwards in our soil rather than leaping forward. And yet, that's exactly what farmers are trying to do. They're trying to get to the higher level of yield, but they're doing so many things that's preventing that from happening.
yeah, I mean, and it's funny because I kind of had a sneaky suspicion when I first looked at these hay. We buy a lot of hay, a lot of Bermuda grass hay, because
Yeah,
that's what we think in our mind that quarter horses need. They need a good, solid,
yeah,
weed-free, ration.
yeah, yeah,
But when I'm talking to these farmers about, guys, be careful. I mean, let's try to get back to as much nature as possible. Get off all these heavy,
yeah, yeah,
uh, herbicides
yeah.
specifically, and all this heavy fertilizer, because it's going to affect your health. And that's why I wanted to show you that autopsy.
That's you're going right along with Kennedy in this new, what is it, Ma, MAGA health kick? Yeah,
I wouldn't even have thought about that, even though after the horse was passed away, and I told her, I said, let's just do an autopsy. I didn't even
yeah.
show up. We
Wow,
have to
that's
figure out why it
incredible.
was happening, but that's what. And I wonder how many animals have been or dying because of these health concerns like that.
Years ago, you talk about the horses. Years ago, um, University of Kentucky, well, up around Lexington, they had horses dying, and they kept thinking it was fungus on the fescue, and
Yeah,
it may very well have been, but some of this is all related back to exactly what you discovered, and I don't think any of them ever did any autopsies and stuff to figure out that it could be something like that. They were looking for something else that killed the horse, but or aborting. They were aborting their babies before they were born. So yeah. So then they came out with the fescue or the fungus-free fescue, and then all those pastures up there got killed. And guess what they killed it with?
Roundup.
Yeah, and then they interseeded the fescue that was fungus-free supposedly. So,
Well, an application of glyphosate is what, $5-6 an acre.
yeah,
What I've been trying to get across is you may be saving money with your herbicide because it's getting to it's affordable, but you're going to
yeah,
pay for it with your fungicide applications.
wow,
What's
yeah,
been, we know now that we're having to do multiple rate applications of more and more and more fungicide treatments. I mean, 30 years ago, nobody sprayed corn with a fungicide. And
yeah,
now
no,
some guys are talking about 4 and 5 times a year.
yeah. Plus, we went into all these stacks. that
Yeah.
went into the corn, and of course that raised the price of the seed corn. And now they're going to have to keep adding other stacks, I suppose, to offset this whatever else is happening.
And that's my whole story is if you're
Yeah,
are we causing the very thing that's causing us to get more stress management in our programs? And I think we are.
yeah,
Really
yeah.
do.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to throw out there about some of your products?
Uh, you know, s- Season started, everybody's kind of out there. I think the big one is, you know how I feel about carbohydrates, Joe. I don't say
Yeah.
anytime you put a product on, even if it's a foliar, make sure you add your sugar and your good carbon to make sure that you got a food source for those organisms.
So speaking of that, and let's just say I don't know how many, but I know a lot of the farmers across the central part of the United States is kind of behind on planting. Some of them got maybe a fourth or a third or a half of their crop in, or maybe a little more. But from this point on, let's just say next week, 1st of June, they're going to get ready to start planting. Uh, I would think that something like the FinPro or some of your other products might be even more crucial for that short window of development. Um, I mean, think about it. You reach 21st, isn't it, of June, and soybeans are going to switch over and start,
That's right.
trying to bloom and finish out, regardless of when you plant them. So it would be more beneficial to focus in this area to get your biology working better for you rather than anything else maybe you could go out there
Yeah,
and
the
throw
two
them.
products I would really focus on during this time of the year is our Innovate and our Defend Pro products.
Mm-hmm.
And Innovate's really a valuable piece of what we're talking about with the overall picture, looking at fungi to bacteria. And the more
Do you still have your product sheets up there? You could pull up Innovate and
yeah.
just give them a little overview of what that might be.
So Innovate. The reason that I'm such a big fan of that one is because we want to make sure that we get that balance right. We just with everything we've been doing in farming, seems like we just can't seem to get the fungi uh, levels up to where we're beneficial. Everything we do in farming
Yeah.
detrimental to the fungal colonies for some reason.
Mm.
Tillage, herbicides, heavy fertility, even in the form of chlorides. These all do damage to the fungi.
Yeah.
So the more we can get those back in there, the better. So we want to make sure we get these beneficials back in the soil.
Hmm.
So I'm not talking about just using it as a residue management tool.
Yeah.
When the guy's going out and doing a spray application and whatever it is, a herbicide or even if you're using a foliar, I like to add Innovate in there just to keep those organisms active and get that soil health back. That's what's causing us to have such issues is the carbon cycles is detriment is
Yeah.
the fact that we're doing all these damaging things to the fungi colonies.
So even bottom line here is you're trying to reestablish colonies of beneficial
Yes.
biology under the root crop or the root mass, even in row or if they are a broadcast, it can do it that way too. But
And you can do in-depth studies on the benefits of Azobacter, Bacillus, Streptomyces. These are all wonderful beneficial organisms that help with the plant and the soil health.
yeah,
So this first came out as a way to reduce residue, but I've became more and more and more engaged in trying to get farmers to do this in the spring and in the summer when they do spray passes or whenever they do it.
and then what was the other product?
Defend Pro.
Well,
Those are the two.
Did you say activate or something? I don't know.
Activate is a product that's really designed to help the plants absorb nutrients. It's a digestive nutrient product. So
Okay.
Activate uh, really is uh, designed to be used when you plant. This
Yeah,
is
I
later.
got you.
We look
Okay.
at the whole idea behind this one is it's beneficial for 8 different nutrients, but to do it in the summer is not going. You're not going to get the benefits of Activate. Now we do have some things that we've been doing with Activate in conjunction with Defend Pro. There are beneficials in this particular formulation that help with disease suppression.
Yeah.
So some of our trials have been looking at Activate with Defend Pro together for really, really tough foliar diseases like powdery mildew and other diseases on strawberries and vegetables.
Yeah.
So we're doing some work with this one with disease control.
Oh, good.
It's really designed to be a product that'll help digest nutrients and make those available.
Hmm.
Different nutrients. The same with K-phos.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of this one too, is to help solubilize more cations, and particularly because when we look at the absorption of nutrients, potassium seems to be the toughest one for that plant to pick up, and it's because
Yeah.
we've tried to do everything in the world from looking at the base saturation stories, upsetting the calcium with the magnesium, that type of stuff, getting better absorption of potassium. What we're finding out is that it's there's an order of prominence when looking at nutrient uptake. And for some reason, plants that are in stress don't really like to pick up K. So once again, it's a biological influence that we need to help. So that's why this is becoming a very, very popular product.
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys that's bought product has used this one product to all of them bought that. And last year too, I got a lot of tissue samples from a lot of the farmers, and they said, "Hey, my nitrogen is plenty high on the tissue sample, but I can't get potassium in the plant." And we figured that they have been applying way too much nitrogen, which is probably true in most cases. But K-phos can help override that. You're thinking?
It sure can. Yeah. Yeah. We have beneficial pieces of organisms that actually solubilize P and K in Activate. But the reason we built this one is
Hmm.
because Activate is more bacterial and K-phos has a lot higher fungal colonies.
Okay.
So we know that we got to get the more azobacter and Clostridium and mycorrhizae in this product.
Hmm.
So it has higher levels of those than Activate.
Okay. Cool. All right. Very good. Well, I think those are some beneficial advice. Uh, I'm fascinated by the glyphosate thing. I can't remember his name, but that professor that talks out of
Dr.
Purdue.
Hoover. Dr. Hoover.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm sending on some of his, and man, he showed all the negativity of glyphosate, just like promoting all that bad fungi in the soil to bring on
Yeah.
those diseases.
I've been a student of his for a while, listening to his lectures and sitting in on some of his
Yeah.
meetings as well. But until it hit me like it has with us, with this story about
Yeah.
our mayor,
Oh man, that's
it's
terrible.
really driving the story home. Is that I just wonder how many
Mm.
cases of soil-borne diseases we're losing in our not only cattle but horses and other
Oh, I
wild.
hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Well, do you know how I can be reached, Joe? If anybody wants any questions or wants to have a conversation, I'm available.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, Al.
You're welcome.
All righty. See ya.
Anytime. All right. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.